We began last year with a great panel that was chaired by John Williams. John is back to moderate today's conversation. And as people are coming in, I will just get us started. Tonight the program is Water, Sustaining Our Blue Planet. As I said, this is the second in a series of symposia, and we're just delighted with the Comer family and Foundation for their sponsorship of this series of discussions. Gary Comer was a modern-day pioneer. An Olympic sailor, he traversed the world in a series of boats known as turmoils and was fascinated by the natural world. His concern for climate was confirmed when he made an ice-free transit of the Northwest Passage, a route that the great explorers of previous centuries had found icebound and impossible to cross. He opened a dialogue with climate scientists and a whole generation now of glaciologists, climatologists, oceanologists, and geologists have conducted research as Comer Fellows. Another dimension of Gary's life, he is a graduate of the Paul Revere School on Chicago's South Side and remained concerned with his first neighborhood. We now have the Comer Youth Center, the new Gary Comer Charter School, and the Comer Children's Hospital at the University of Chicago, demonstrating the depth of Gary's commitment to the neighborhood where he grew up. With the generosity of the Comer Foundation for Science and Education, the Field Museum has launched a series of symposia to honor the memory of Gary Comer and his work to call attention to climate change. And I am delighted that Stephanie Comer and Francie Comer are here with us this evening. Would you please stand? In addition to hosting this symposium, the museum will mount a major exhibition on water from June 17th through September 20th. In this exciting interactive exhibition, you'll discover how water shapes our planet and impacts nearly everything we do and how we impact the planet's water supply. Tonight's program will focus on water issues as they relate to health, poverty, globalization, and climate change on the local, regional, and global levels. Featuring Jeffrey Sachs, the director of the Earth Institute at Columbia University, and Peter Annan, author of The Great Lakes Water Wars, this discussion, again, will be moderated by John Williams, host of WGN Radio 720's weekday morning drive show. John, we are delighted that you're back. Please join me in welcoming John Williams.
Can you hear me okay? I think you can. I recently switched shifts at the radio station, and I wonder sometimes when I'm on too. I get up at 3 in the morning and go on from 5 to 9. And so I'm going to get up pretty soon. And I'm really glad that you're here. We'll meet our guests in about 60 seconds. But I wanted to say one interesting thing, that the scientists, the astronauts who are in space right now at the space station have been asked to do what? Have you heard? Tweet. They want them to use Twitter to communicate back to Earth. That's all the rage, you know? And so NASA figured, all right, let's get the scientists to do that. It'll hook us up with the young people, or at least the new social media. We're going to ask the astronauts to tweet, which to me is weird because I can see them floating in space. They got the cell phones and these giant space gloves, and they're unable to actually type out what they want to say. If they were going to communicate a message back to Earth as they're looking back at this blue planet, I would ask them to say, think about water. They could even do H2O, abbreviate it. think about water. Instead, they'll probably say something like, I don't like Cheetos. You know, that's what Twitter has become. But think about water. We're going to do that tonight with our esteemed guests. Gentlemen, will you please join me on the stage? Jeffrey Sachs, Peter Annan. Thank you.
Thanks, John.
You just heard a little bit about them, both lovers of the planet Earth, both authors. You'll be able to see their books, get their signed books after the show. One's an esteemed economist, and the other one is a journalist who's covered this area more than me. So let me ask some questions, and then we'll invite you to do the same. It's a global view first, right? I imagine the scientists, the astronauts looking down on Earth. But Jeffrey, let's start with you. Water is everywhere, right? What's our concern? What should we know foremost?
First, let me thank the Comer family for having us here. Gary Comer has really opened the world for all of us in the scientific understanding of the things that we're going to talk about this evening, and it's just an honor to be here and a delight to see the family, and so I'm absolutely thrilled. And Peter, it's wonderful to be here together with you. I'm really looking forward to the discussion as well.
As a Columbia grad,
exactly.
It's great to be here.
We've got a Columbia thing going up here.
So I'd like to also thank the Comer family as well, and the museum.
Water's everywhere, but I think maybe the right thing to realize is that people are everywhere now also. And while there is a lot of fresh water and vastly more water in the oceans, we are facing problems not only with water, with climate, with land, with every aspect of the natural environment now, in part because there's so many of us. And I think that's one basic thing that we need to keep in mind. There are nearly 7 billion people on the planet right now. And that is 10 times more than there were when we began this experiment of the industrial age a couple centuries ago. And those tenfold increase of population, which we represent, the 7 billion people, are also, for each of us, on average, doing a lot more with the earth, demanding a lot more from the earth, whether it's energy, whether it's industrial products, whether it's water, and we're putting a lot more stress on the earth than could ever have been imagined, I would say, even one generation ago. And it's that combination of the numbers of us and the expectations of us in the way we live, in the way that others would like to live, in the way that the nearly 2.3 billion people in China and India are rapidly catching up to live, that really will be at the crux of a lot of our discussion. Because with climate change, with the food demand that we have, with the way that we use water in so many ways, and the way that humanity impacts the availability of water in many ways that we'll talk about, we have a growing crisis all over the planet, and that's really the essence of it.
And I think the call to environmentalism for a lot of us was first and foremost, don't pollute. But now you're saying it's conservation as much as it is pollution.